If I may, I call the meeting of the Austintown Township Trustees for July 15, 2019 to order. We all please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Frano?
Here.
Mr. McGlynn?
Here. We have some nice excitement to do today, and before we get into the official meeting, we'd like to take care of the first of a great episode. We're bringing somebody into our family, and Chief, would you please introduce Ryan?
Ryan Curry, Officer Ryan Curry.
Better watch, Ryan. She gives you the words that you're swearing in. Watch what she says.
Please, everyone.
Yes.
Raise your right hand. I, Ryan Curry,
I, Ryan Curry,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Patrol Officer of the Austintown Township
of Patrol Officer of Austintown Township
and of Austintown Township Police District
and Austintown Police District
in Austintown Township,
and Austintown Township,
Mahoning County,
Mahoney County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
I, Ryan Curry,
I, Ryan Curry,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Constable of the Austintown Township
of Constable of Austintown Township
and of Austintown Township Police District
and Austintown Police District
in Austintown Township,
in Austintown Township,
Mahoning County,
Mahoney County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
I always like to introduce us to anyone here that's here for you.
I have a fellow police officer from Youngstown, one of my best friends. One of the reasons why I actually wanted to be a police officer, Jimmy Hughes, my mom, and my girlfriend, Jordan.
Good. You know, you have a great reputation. In your application and everything else, everybody gets checked real well. And everyone went crazy when you stood up. The funny part is, we get to give you something that Youngstown couldn't. We now make you a constable too. So you're not just a police officer, you're a constable too.
Yes, sir.
Chief?
Just want to say, of all the applicants, Ryan finished top on our list, and we're glad to have him with us. He brings 8 years' experience from the Youngstown Police Department. He was a field training officer there. He was a DARE officer and a school resource officer. He worked in the Youngstown City Schools. And he has this crisis intervention training dealing with the mentally ill. So he comes to us with 8 years' experience and plus a lot of schooling that we don't have to put him through. And I want to congratulate and thank Chief Lees for that.
A fish graduate, by the way. A fish graduate.
I'm sure that doesn't make the scheme anyways.
And this officer right here, we tried to steal at one point.
That's great. Lori, you want any comments?
I have no comments. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'd just like to, Ron, welcome you aboard. It's a great department, it's a great township to work for, and I think we really enjoy it. There's really some really good people to work with. Lieutenant Scourer is one of them. Great guy to work with. So I don't know what shift you'll be on. Which one are you putting on, midnight? You haven't decided yet, huh? But again, welcome aboard.
Yeah, I want to, before I interrupt you, I just want to also thank got to Claus. He was the one that did all the process through hiring that. It takes a long time to go through the hiring process. He knows better than I do how long it takes. Been Sergeant Delmont spent a lot of time on the hiring process of the officers that we get here.
Joe?
No, just welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Really excited. Everything that that I heard, it was nothing but just nothing less than exceptional, which made me excited. I can tell you that there were numerous people who were like, "How do you get Ryan Kirk? How do you get Ryan Kirk?" I was like, "Who's Ryan Kirk?" Everybody's talking about. Then the chief walked into the meeting and said, "Listen, we've done this background. We've got this really exceptional officer." He's like, "I have bad news. You guys can't drive through the city of Youngstown." You can't do that. So, he's like, Chief Lees is not too happy with us right now. So, but no, to know that Chief Lees thinks that out of you is that speaks volumes. So, congratulations. We're glad to have you.
I appreciate it.
The only thing I have to say, Ryan, is that unfortunately you're going to have to get more muscles. I realize that you're thinner and that sort of thing, but welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate
We're
it.
so very, very happy. Thank you. That's it? Okay, good. We're going to do one more thing before we get started here. And what I'd like to do is introduce the chairman of the 4th of July committee, which is our trustee, Jim Davis, and the director of the 4th of July parade, and is Bruce? Okay, Bruce Shepard. And they're going to do some presentation for the 4th of July celebration.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to join Bruce down there and also ask Ken Cooley, our treasurer, to come up for these presentations. Just to give you guys a brief update, and I promise I'll make it quick, is that this year's 4th of July celebration was nothing less than way over the top. It blew me away. And each year we try to think, how can we make it better? And the job is actually getting tough because each year it just gets bigger and bigger and crazier and crazier. This year it all started with our fireworks celebration, and that was with Chris Higbee, who put on an unbelievable performance. Special thanks to our fire department and their help in raising Chris 102 feet in the air and putting him up over the stage. I think it made for some really cool photos. There's some video on Facebook of the day of the events. Go to Austintown Fireworks Celebration on Facebook and check it out. It was nothing less than exceptional, and Colonial Fireworks helped make that all possible. Thank you to Greg Morrison and Frank Lafredo. Those are the two guys from Colonial Fireworks that I tell them every year. I have phone numbers saved in my phones. They're the other fireworks companies. When they call, I don't even answer the call because we've got simply the best fireworks in the Mahoning Valley. So we're very proud of that. As part of that, one of the things we like to do is we incorporate the Austintown local schools, and the Austintown Board of Education is a big supporter and help with the 4th of July festivities. And by doing that, each year we give back to an organization. And believe it or not, the organization that we wanted to give money back to this year, some signals got crossed, and unfortunately, I don't know whether it was our fault or it was their fault, but they couldn't have kids there that night. And I stopped at a corner car wash at Advanced Auto down right across from Handel's Ice Cream, and I got my car washed. And I said, "Are you trying to raise some money?" I said, "Let me help you out." And they said, "Well, we might not be able to be there, but we know someone that may." And because of that, the Austintown Boys Soccer League contacted me back. And what we do is, instead of collecting money at the gate for the fireworks, we always collect in AGE, which is Austintown Generational Enrichment. It was initially how we started the senior center. It is also to help generations and people throughout the Austintown community. So being part of that, we've always given back to an organization at the Austintown local schools. So this year, the Austintown Boys Soccer League, Austintown Boys Soccer Team was the recipient of the donations at the gate. And the most money ever raised is now in possession of the boys soccer team, we're proud to say. They raised $1,593.03 at the gates. So hopefully that will make things a little bit better for this year's soccer team. So Ken has a check to present to you, so if you'd like to come up and go right out front, JT would probably, I'm sure, like to take a picture.
Your kid was instrumental.
Okay, pose, guys.
No, we don't.
Well, there goes that one.
It was a pleasure dealing with you. You know, it looked like the boys were having a good time.
Young man, had a great time.
They had a great time.
They really engaged the people that anytime that they do it, they would probably do it just for fun, to be honest with you. But they really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's going to go a long way.
Very good.
Should give you a good boost.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, we're not sure how many cars you'd have to wash to normally raise that
Well, we
amount of
won't
money.
wash cars.
But I was going to say, the least I think you could do is call the Austintown girls soccer team and see if you can wash at least one of their coaches' cars. So then we moved on, of course, from the fireworks celebration, which once again was a phenomenal evening. We move on to Monday night, which was our events at the park. We had Todd and Shannon hosted the farmers market, and that was a beautiful event. It was very well attended. We'd like to thank Todd and, of course, all his staff, because without them, none of this happens. What you don't realize is leading up to the 4th of July fireworks, just the fireworks alone, Todd and his staff were on hand. They are literally my right-hand people for that entire event. And then they literally didn't finish till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and turned around and we're back out at the park getting everything ready for the next day's events. So that event was that evening, as well as our car show, which took place at Greenwood Chevrolet. Thank you to Greg Greenwood and everybody at Greenwood Chevrolet for hosting that, as well as Mark Cole and the Mark Cole Agency. It was a beautiful night for that. And then, once again, we go back to the park for Tuesday night. The weather was not so good. Ken, you got to get better at drumming up some better weather.
This is the 2 years in a row we've got to bring it down.
So we've got to either find a way to move this indoors if possible, or if the weather doesn't permit. But unfortunately, we didn't have great weather for it, so we missed out on our concert in the park. And hopefully, at some point, maybe this year, we can get the Canfield Community Concert Band to come back out and perform for us, because they do an exceptional job. But that was Tuesday night. Now, typically we like to go all week long, but because of all the festivities and as crazy as it was this year, we took Wednesday off. And the reason we took Wednesday off was because on Thursday we woke up and Joyce had a beautiful ceremony planned for us with the Austintown Historical Society at the Log Cabin. It was a great flag raising ceremony and ecumenical service. Gary Gray, who was the pastor from Highway Tabernacle Church, performed the ceremony. We're not allowed to tell anybody that his sermon was only 8 minutes because his congregation would be upset to find out that what he normally takes a half hour was able to be done in 8 minutes. But it was a great ceremony. So we thank Joyce and the Austintown Historical Society for kicking off our 4th of July. Now, the Austintown Parade, we call it the Granddaddy of them all. Not that it rivals the Rose Bowl, but it is the largest and longest parade in the Mahoning Valley on the 4th of July. And a couple years ago, we had an undertaking where we needed to have somebody take that parade over. Chris Lewis did it for the longest time and did a great job at it, but we wanted to go a different route with the parade. And so someone that saw that same vision was the guy standing next to me, and that's Bruce Shepis. I don't want to pat him on the back too much because he'll get a big head, but when I tell you that I know what goes into the fireworks, I don't know what goes into the parade, and I don't want to know. Because simply it is an event to put it on. And Bruce has done a phenomenal job with that. And I'm going to let Bruce actually talk a little bit more about the parade, but I just want to ask everybody to give Bruce a round of applause for putting on.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. And 3 years ago, I was all excited. I got appointed by the trustees to do this, and I couldn't wait to take that challenge on. And then I got into the mix of it all, and it became quite the project. What our biggest challenge was moving it from 2 p.m. to noon. Why did we do that? So we can all get home quicker and spend time with our families. The majority of the people were in favor of it, and I believe there's one or two people in opposition. However, we overrode that, and it's a success now. We finished it in 1 hour and 35 minutes. That was the fastest time. We had over 100 vehicles that attended the parade. Since we moved it to noon 3 years ago, our attendance has gone up over 25% in participation. And then barring the weather, last year was brutal with the heat. This year I felt the attendance was up quite a bit because it was a little bit cooler. It was our 43rd annual 4th of July parade, and I believe it was a huge success. And Jim Molnar, not to mention Jim Molnar from Molnar's Concession, we chose and voted for him to be our Grand Marshal this year. So thank you, Jim. The trustees, these guys are impeccable. They're a huge help to me, and I appreciate everything they do. Todd Schaefer, the Park Department, the Road Department, your crew, fantastic. Thank you. I know you guys are underappreciated. Sometimes I believe so, and I just want to make sure you're recognized here tonight. Chief Cavalier, I really appreciate Lieutenant Scour. Fantastic. I can't say enough about him. I'm a little biased. I work in law enforcement, but what he does is impeccable. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chief, and all your whole crew, all your officers in your department are outstanding. As far as the rest of the committee, Sam Swagger, thank you. You're kind of behind the scenes guy, and I'll tell you what you do with Greenwood and behind the scenes is fantastic. We appreciate you. The 20 over 9 radio club, you guys are fantastic. Andrew was out there with me and my little 7-year-old daughter. We were taking those signs and beating stakes in the ground the night before. We're on the Home Depot at 10 o'clock at night. Thank you. And they do a great job at your firework committee, with security and communication with the police department. Mark Cole, the Austintown Rotary. I can't do it without the Austintown Rotary. They volunteer their time and man the St. Anne's parking lot and Highway Tabernacle, thanks to both of them as well for letting us use their parking lots. And they kind of guide the traffic and help place the vehicles or floats in the alignment that my wife typed up for me. She's the typer, not me. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Alexandria. I appreciate both of you. Janet Polish, for all that you do with the schools. She's kind of like our bridge with the schools. Our treasurer, Ken Cooley, as Mr. Davis has already mentioned, fantastic. Without you, we'd be lost. And I'm afraid I might get your position if you retire, so please stick around. So I'm going to go on with the awards now. This year's non-commercial award goes to Motor Mafia. Linda Tomlin. Is it Tomlin? Tomlin, Linda Tomlin. We appreciate you once again. It's like the same people keep winning every year. And I know the hard work and the time and the money, this is nothing compared to what you put into that float. We appreciate you in the township here, and we feel that we have one of the best parades in the Mahoning Valley, if not the state of Ohio.
That's why we
I'm
enjoy
glad
doing
that
it.
you choose us.
Yep.
So we have a check for you for $100, and we have a plaque so you can, so you can brag a little bit and hang this up at your
Bruce, may I ask you to
facility.
do something?
Yes, sir.
Would you explain to us your organization?
We are Motor Mafia Motorsports, where we do, it's just a group of us that all gets together, who loves cars, loves racing, and we help raise funds. We did a car show for the American Legion this year, which I gotta get with Sam. And we also have our fund, it's called Motor Mafia Charities. We do shoe walks for kids, and we send them to wherever disasters are and stuff like that. So a lot of our money that we raise goes right into that. That's what we do.
Very good.
Amazing.
Go ahead, Gage.
Sure.
Thanks.
All right, I tell this story for the last couple of years. There's this crazy lady named Joanna Parker from West Side Tire. January 2nd, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. I get an email. She knows my personal email. She hits me up on my Bruce Shepis Gmail email, and then she calls me. text me. What's the theme? I gotta know that theme. I need the edge. I need all the help I can get. And once again, Westside Tire, Joanna Parker, not only did you get voted on for best commercial float, you followed the theme so well, and the theme was Austintown, how sweet it is. Your float was so impeccable that you also got best overall float and the best commercial float. So you'll be receiving a check for $350. Can we give them a round of applause? Listen, I don't know, you can call me anytime.
They also have the nicest tires on the great beer.
Thank you very much.
Can't wait to
Beautiful.
show.
He would like to do a meal that to the Highway Tabernacle for the fifth quarter program.
How about that? They would like to donate their $350 check to Highway Tabernacle, the fifth quarter program.
Okay, that's more check.
So, we're just going to reach out to the Highway Tabernacle. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Well, thanks again. I appreciate everybody. I'm looking forward to the challenges and next year as well. Thanks for coming out.
I think we should mention quickly that our parade judges were actually Ron Strollo and Bob Hannon. So special thanks to those guys for doing that and being a part of it. I basically want to sum this up. First of all, Bruce thanked a lot of our committee, but I want to make sure that we especially thank our law enforcement and our fire services. If I told you that Lieutenant Scour, I know, spends numerous hours putting in stuff for safety and the safety of the entire community, you just don't know. He hands us a detailed booklet about this thick of every potential hazard along the way. He's gone through numerous classes dealing with terrorism and counterterrorism and everything. And I can tell you that the safest place to be the night of the fireworks is the Austintown Plaza, and that's because of his efforts and the work of his team. So thank you very much. Chief Frost, your staff does an exceptional job making sure that everybody's safe. If something goes south, I know because of the heat, we had some issues at the fireworks with people passing out, and the same thing at the parade. But right away, the quick response always makes us feel safe. So thank you to you guys as well. I want to say this, and I want to say it publicly so everybody understands. I get a lot of accolades for putting on the 4th of July fireworks event. But there are people that truly believe in what we do. That starts with my colleagues. Without their support, without them saying, go ahead, put this thing together and do it, that doesn't happen, folks. So I want to make sure I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, the community's heart. It really means a lot to have your support. And there is, like Bruce said, there's behind the scenes guys, there's guys that are hands-on. And just without, I tell everybody, we got a small committee, but we're mighty. If you really want to get in and you want to have the inside track on what the theme is, join the parade committee. There's a good idea for you guys to get on our committee. That's a quick way to find out. But no, thank you guys very much for being a part of our 4th of July, and we're looking forward to next year because without a doubt, it will, I'm sure, one way or another, we'll make it better than this year's. So thank you.
Great. We'll be speaking more about Jim now, but ladies and gentlemen, we do this often. Before we start the regular meeting, those of you that were here to get your accolades, you may certainly leave. If you'd like to stay, fine, but we'll take a 5-minute break so that anyone that would like to leave may leave. And that doesn't mean you guys.
Coming out there.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm an Austintown guy on television, so
I'll step
it goes up on.
outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but just the recording goes up on the channel.
Okay, let's continue on our agenda, the introduction of our leaders in the community. From our senior center, the assistant director, Jessica Rickard, is here. Our park superintendent, Todd Schaefer. Next to them, the police. Well, let's go to the fire chief now. The fire chief, in the last 2 weeks, has been the star of stage, screen, and paper. And I hope you're going to explain to us later about that, because that's an excellent thing for us via the paper. Our police chief, Bob Cavalier, is out saying hello to everybody. He's talking to zoning inspector, Darren Crivelli. Our township administrator and road superintendent is Mike Dockery. To my right is trustee Jim Davis. To my left is trustee Doug McGlynn, and to my far left is our lovely lady Laura Wolf, who is our fiscal officer, and I am Ken Carano. A motion, please, to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carano?
Yeah.
Mr. McGlynn?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Okay, and now's the interesting time. We'll be talking, Mike Dockery will speak now as a road department head and also as our administrator. Michael?
Just a comment on the road resurfacing bids that I want you to award tonight. We received 5 bids. The lowest bid beat the second bid by about $2,000 overall. We're doing about 5.7 miles. I think Canfield is doing about 1.5 miles. The lowest bid was American Contracting Incorporated on Meridian Road. They are also the ones that did our Westchester Improvement Project, the second one that we did. I believe we did that last summer. And they did a good job. And of course, they've done other jobs in the area, which I checked their references. And myself and folk are recommending that you award the bid to them as both the lowest and the best bid.
They do have an excellent reputation. Motion, please.
Second.
Mr. McGlynn?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Carano?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
please.
I'd just like to thank the Township of Canfield for joining us in the joint paving program as we have done in the past. I think it shows regionalization works when you work with your neighboring communities. I've seen that we were able to get this bid and get such a good price. So thank you, the Township of Canfield, and their trustees for working with us on this.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, up to the police department, chief.
I have nothing that I'll say.
We have another police officer to be sworn in. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
please.
The chief sometimes doesn't like to pat himself on the back, but I wanted to take a moment real quick if I can. I was going to actually talk a little bit about the All-Star festivities. I got to go to the All-Star Home Run Derby. I've been to an All-Star game, so I wanted to go to the Home Run Derby. And I was there, but I wanted to, I won't mention the officers' names because they obviously work undercover, but 2 of our officers, I want to congratulate you and the police department, the International Crimes Against Children. 2 of our officers work on the task force. They are assigned to investigate crimes against children on the internet. And what they do is they actually will find people who think that they're conversing with people who are under the age of 18 and trying to lure them in to commit crimes against those children. And 2 of our officers, the efforts that they are and what they do were so exceptional that at the request of the Attorney General of the state of Ohio, they were asked to go to Cleveland to be a part of the All-Star festivities and participate in a sting called Triple Play. And what that was a It was I guess you would call it, it was a activity that they represented themselves as underage children on the internet, where they were able to arrest over 20 individuals that were in Cleveland for those festivities that were trying to interact with children in the Cleveland communities. They were alongside the Attorney General for that. And once again, they were there at the request of the Attorney General, and that was because of their efforts and what they've done in the Mahoney Valley, right here in Austintown Township, and what they have done with the Mahoney County Sheriff's Office. Mahoney County Sheriff's Office and the Austintown Police Department have done an excellent job at that. And I think it's to be commended that those two officers have that reputation. And I think it also sends a very stern message. Don't mess with our children. Don't come to Austintown and don't try to commit these crimes, because our guys are well known, and the efforts that they are able to put forward are even recognized at a state level. So I just want to say congratulations, Chief.
You get free tickets. Okay, Chief Frost has been in the news over something that has taken place for a long time. For those of you who don't know, his father was the the fire chief for the longest time here. You and I are good friends, and he had some great ideas that worked through, and his son is carrying it through. So tell us about the school for the fire.
Sure. First of all, I apologize for being late. I was stuck on a call, so that's why I came in late. But yeah, so my dad and I are co-directors of the fire program out of vocational school. And back when he and Bob Tish, who was a deceased fire chief from Canfield, when they were doing it in the way back day, they always wanted to get some sort of burn facility to up the training levels of the firefighters in the area. So they've actually been working on this since probably in the mid-90s or so. It's such a big project, it takes a long time to get the funding and all for it. So it's just now coming to reality, and there's a lot of folks that have done a lot of things for it, but it mainly is coming in because he just never let it die. He just always kept going and going. And so bottom line is there's a new fire tower coming in. It's going to be just about 100% funded by the state budgets. And we're probably going to get some additional money here, hopefully very soon, to finish off the project. So it'll be state-of-the-art training facility for the fire service. And vocational school was a great avenue to go for that. And we had the MCCTC board on board, the superintendent. They all saw the need for the project, and all of us got together, got the funding for it. And after all this time, it's being built, and it's going to really up the game around here on training.
Chief, who does it supply training for?
Both new and experienced firefighters. So what's always happened before is we've had these small containers or buildings that we would have live fire training as required by the state. But they were just, you feel the heat, you see the smoke, that's really about it. So this new facility is going to allow for, it has mazes in it, it has all the different the bailout tactics, all the different rescue tactics, all these props for doing all these different things. So our goal is the firefighter, when we're in a dangerous situation, they see it in training, not in a live situation in a house where people are in jeopardy. So it's just gonna allow the firefighters to see these problem things that really injure firefighters. They're gonna see it in training as opposed to real life. So
Is it just for Mahoney County?
no, there's 5 counties that we train. We've had such a good program out there, we actually got a following. So we train folks from at least 5 counties, and sometimes more than that. So we anticipate about 500 students going through it every year.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything else around the town?
That's it.
If you need him with one of your parents, I'm volunteer to be his PR
PR person.
and security.
He interviews well on television. I watched it.
Newspaper, you name it. Try to get out of
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Chief. Okay, moving on to the zoning, wait a minute, let me get out my manuscript over here. Go ahead, Darren.
I would ask the board to declare the following properties
public nuisance under Revised Code, section 505.87. 12 North Beverly, high grass and weeds within the rear yard, 3974 Miranda Mine Avenue, Junction Debris, 538 South Campbell Mills Road, weeds throughout the property. That is the vacant daycare center, the corner of Colby and State Route 46 is currently up for sale. 3967 Cannon Road, debris and high grass and weeds. 110 D-Hop Drive, high grass and weeds, garbage. And just as an FYI, we forwarded this a while back to the Monmouth County Board of Health to make it for rats. 2135 Elm Trees, high grass and weeds, yard waste, and the base of the above ground pool. Hasty Road, lot number 39, high grass and weeds. 178 Idaho Road, high grass and weeds within the rear yard. And this was the property the last meeting. I told you we met out there with the Board of Health and the APD and made it for rats. The following are all on Hunting Avenue and all high grass and weeds. 3755, 3781, 3796, 3811, 3906, 3924, 4215, 4032, 4480, Hunting Avenue, all high grass and weeds. 1515 Maple Crest Drive, high grass and weeds. We've asked the prosecutor to put this in the foreclosures about $19,000 over the years. This will actually be the third time this year that we're going to cut the grass. 2588 South Meridian Road, high grass and weeds. And there's a line of pine trees there, one snapped off, so we'll remove that. 4 vacant parcels on North Meridian Road. This is the demolition property that's directly across from Meridian Services. We'll get that for high grass and weeds. 330 North Meridian Road, high grass and weeds at the south side of the property. 804 North Meridian Road, high grass and weeds at the front northeast section of the property. Lot number 5 Nashua Drive, high grass and weeds within the rear yard near the fence line of the duplex condos. 4350 New Road, high grass and weeds. 4525 New Road, high grass and weeds. 6225 New Road, a shed within the rear yard that needs to either be repaired or removed. The property owner received a letter from me. I gave them 30 days in which to do the work that he did. 43 and 49 Parkgate Avenue, 2 mattresses stored behind the detached garage. 41 Plastic Boulevard, big round pool with green stagnant water. 45, 47 Public Drive, high weeds and junk and debris. 8 North Raccoon Road, high grass and weeds. 1665 South Raccoon Road, just high grass or basically weeds at the perimeter of the property. 267 Rosemont Avenue, high grass and weeds and a fence in disrepair. 43 South Roanoke, high grass and weeds. 232 South Roanoke, high grass and weeds. 379 Rosemont Avenue, high grass and weeds. 5628 Lane Avenue, junk and debris and high grass and weeds. 1851 South River Road, high grass and weeds around the perimeter and junk and debris. That is the house at the corner of the road and turn, which last summer we had the police out there and we cleaned the property about a year ago right now. But we must have cut the grass there 4 or 5 times since these current occupants purchased the home. 2585 Walker Drive, high grass and weeds, and 4417 Orville South, high grass and weeds within the rear yard, including junk debris and a swimming pool with stagnant water.
Yes.
Bennett.
We're going to talk about that last and do something separate.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moved.
Second.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. McGuinn?
Yes. Okay, I would ask the board to approve a motion to find the following motor vehicles meet all the following criteria: 3 model years or older, apparently inoperable, extensively damaged, including but not limited to any of the following: missing wheels, tires, engine, and transmission, and declared to be vehicles public nuisances under Revised Code 505.871, and order the removal of junk vehicles within 14 days after notice is served to the property owner. 69 Westminster Avenue. This is a rather large apartment complex, an inoperable Honda with no license plates parked in exposed manner within the parking lot, and an inoperable 1997 Mercury with an expired license plate, HOP 4376, and with flat tires parked in exposed manner in the parking lot, and 3974 Random Line, an inoperable and unlicensed silver Cadillac parked in an exposed manner within the driveway. That's on our junk and debris list, and that's the property that we know quite well.
We've been there before, correct?
Yes, a number of times.
That's the irony of life. Motion by Doug?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. McGlynn?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Karen, when we get some of these properties that, quite honestly, you're going back 3 or 4 or 5 times, at what point do you, I guess the homeowner or maybe the landlord take responsibility? I know it's hard on you guys because it's continuous.
It's a good question. You can get to a certain point where with junk and debris or junk vehicles, where they're really changing the use of the property from residential to now, industrial junkyard. I prefer to use the nuisance. I think the prosecutor prefers us to do that, so as not to clog the courts. But when you have repeated violations such as not random line, I could ultimately take the property owner to court, and that is owner occupied. But if the property owner chooses to plead innocent, they're entitled to a pretrial and trial. Nuisance is still the best way to address these issues. And once we declare something a nuisance, if it's abated, whether it be in the township and we put a lien on the property, or the property owner abates it, it's closed, it's done with. And then, if we have to go back, we will. A lot of times, for instance, the apartment complex, letters went out to the complex owner who's in New Jersey. And because there was a license plate, I was able to find the owner who's in Youngstown. The other vehicle was unplated. And but we try to give notice to property owners. Once again, if a home or a business structure is occupied, our goal is to send them a letter, because I think Eric and I think about 80% of the letters that we send, we get compliance. And then you guys see maybe the other 20%, or depending, it could go to court. We file between 5 and 10 court cases a year. So that's how we handle it. And like Brandon, you're talking about behavioral problems. I think you're talking about bigger issues there than zoning. DHOF, the current tenants there just are not living to community standards. And that's a rental, the owners in Aurora. The house at New Road and South Turner, you're almost hoping to educate them just what the community standards are. You live in Austintown, as I told the property, you live on a corner lot, heavily traveled intersection amongst just absolutely beautiful homes, and you have to get with the standard. And this is the only way I can figure out to do it. Like I said, I could haul them to court, but then I'm sitting there looking at all the junk and debris for 6 months. So I still think that the nuisance avenue is the best route to go. I had a couple of things I want to bring up with the board, because the board has to give me some guidance. Obviously, last year, the bridge on County Avenue was dedicated as a veterans bridge, and you already declared it a nuisance once. The state went out there, and they don't really cut for aesthetics, they cut to remove site obstructions. I had some email correspondences and a phone call with the director of our district, and he had mentioned that we could take over the maintenance of state property. Now, I didn't put that bridge on the nuisance list, but I will add it if that's the board's direction. But I think we should pursue with the state what our obligations are. Can we just take over the maintenance of that one bridge? Because that bridge, when you have all those flags out there, that bridge is dedicated to the veterans. People want to know why it's not being maintained. And what it is, it's weeds, and the sidewalks just need to be swept. It's basic stuff, but I think my advice to the trustees is let's pursue taking over the maintenance on behalf of our veterans in our community, because we're the ones they're calling, we're the ones they're holding responsible for it. And the state put defoliant out there to try to reduce the amount of cutting, and they did cut it after we declared.
But I'm going to tell you something, with all due respect to you and to the state, yes, I think we're going to have to go do something, but before we do, we're going after the state.
Okay.
The state does not cut only because of safety. The state also cuts for the beauty of the situation. And the fact of the matter is, the state has not done their job. Now, they have a good excuse. We have to understand something. All of us here have seen all the rain that has been coming. But the fact of the matter is, their excuse about anything except the fact that they don't cut it belongs to the state. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll call our state reps and tell them to get on to the situation. And I don't want to irritate the guy who runs the show, because he's been a pretty nice guy. But the thing is, we complained before, it went in the paper, the next day it was done. And the point is that it should keep doing it. They are no different. They are no different than everybody else who owns property in Austintown. So let's go after them first. The only thing is, the other thing is now the county doesn't own bridges. The state owns bridges, but that bridge has to be swept. That's another big reason.
That's something the state's not going to do.
Well, the state, yes, they do, but once again, you've got to get on them, because they don't do it unless there's a reason for it. Understand, they have a lot of things, just like the county does, but it doesn't matter to me. You put the bridge in, you put the property in, that's your responsibility, just like our responsibility is our part.
Okay, collectively, as a board of trustees, give me some guidance. Do we want to put it on the nuisance list? Do you want to approach state elected officials?
Yeah.
Just because I've got people calling me and saying, why can't you people?
And I hope you explain that to them.
Oh, you can
See,
explain it.
understand something, understand what happens. In the wintertime, if we plow a county road or state road more than once, it belongs to us. Now, our taxpayers are paying double time, because they're paying through their state taxes and they're paying through their township taxes to plow. So we don't want to do that. It's the same thing that applies there. If we take over the responsibility for that, it costs Austintown the amount of money that we have to pay to have that done that belongs to the state, and then it becomes ours permanently. And we can't do that, not now, not until we try to stop some on people.
Well, just give me some idea. Want it on the list or on the nuisance list?
As far as I'm concerned, put it on the nuisance list.
Okay, we'll add that to the nuisance. Okay, the only other thing I wanted to talk to you, board members, about was about 4 or 5 years ago, we changed the regulations, or actually we adopted regulations to regulate donation drop-off boxes. As you may recall, that things were like near the streets, and once we adopted the regulations, it was interesting. We sent letters to all the commercial property owners who had them. Probably 3 or 4 property owners called us and said, well, we thought you guys wanted to do it. So we went out and booked them. In the meantime, what we do is we allow them to have a certain setback, and you got to pull a zoning permit. So we don't have a lot of them, but we do have some. We have one on Kirk Road behind Marco's Pizza, and it overflows, and the board has declared the property nuisance, and we've cleaned it. We're open to lien on the property. Anyways, it's kind of like the moon, it waxes and wanes. Sometimes they pick it up in time, sometimes they don't, and when they don't, I have a trustee who calls me, telling me, but I need some guys. I've got a trustee who wants to put forth a motion to remove the box. Reduce, just remove it.
That's a big question. Before they put the box on, they get the permission of the people that own the property?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, well, one way or the other, that responsibility is theirs also.
I agree.
So, but the situation, as far as I'm concerned, if it is declared, whatever it has to be done, give them their letter and then do the work. Take it
Well,
out.
the thing is, that's just my point, because we only meet once every 2 weeks, and sometimes it's not a problem, and then it is a problem. I had a trustee say to me, let's pass a motion to just remove the box, because of the history we have documented.
Is that legal for us?
I wouldn't recommend it, but you're the board, and it's up to them to challenge it, and maybe just the threat of removing it will get either, they need to do more pickups, maybe 2 pickups a week, or it's a big parking lot, come in, pay the fee, and just put another box there.
Mike, you're a semi-attorney too. The situation over there like that, as far as I'm concerned, if it looks bad and it's unhealthy, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to pull it out of there. But who do we have to talk to first, just to cover our back?
Prosecutor.
Prosecutor. Okay. Why don't we do that, gentlemen? Let's go to the prosecutor.
I'll talk to the prosecutor.
Well, I agree, I think we've got to do something with it, because Victoria don't get
Right.
memory, which is.
It fascinates me that they put them there, and what do they do with those? Can't we, I wonder, see, that's the problem, ladies and gentlemen, with the township. We don't make our own rules. If we were a home rule community, we could do it. We cannot do our home, we can't make our own rules. We should be able to say, that company, you did this stuff, you are no longer permitted in Austintown. And we're not allowed to do that because it's not, it has to come to the state.
If you may, if I may, I'd like to meet with the zoning inspector and come up, because I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask the prosecutor. As far as, one of our big issues is finding out who owns these boxes. And if that's the case, we make transient vendors. If you want to set up shop and you want to sell hoagie sandwiches on the corner of Kirk and Raccoon Roads, you got to get a transient vendor permit once a year. These are not brick and mortar places. They come into the township, they put them there, and then I think sometimes they forget about them. So what I'd like to actually do is find out if we can make this a reoccurring annual fee that they have to apply for a permit once a year to have that box there on an annual basis, so that one, we can maintain a record of who owns that box. And then when they don't pay their fees, then yes, we are able to impound them as we have done in the past.
But go further than that. We'll give them a statement as to what they should be doing there, and if they break that particular.
Then we can tell them they're not welcome.
I think it was last year, maybe the year before, we had a problem with it. There's a number, I called the number. I called it twice. I spoke to the individual twice. And told them, look, you either need to come in and pull another permit, or just do 2 pickups a week. That's it. But zoning isn't in the habit of calling people and saying, hey, we really appreciate you. Okay, so, no, it doesn't work like that. But the guy had 2 phone calls from me. The property is going to be assessed a lien. And, right now, we went by, it's clean today.
Is it?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like Thursday, but.
Jim, if you would, you take the responsibility for the trustees and go with them. Okay. Anything else there?
No, that's,
Okay, thank you. Todd, what's going on in your park?
Nothing new. Start the farmer's market on Monday nights from 5 to 8. And on Tuesday nights, we have our concerts from 7 to 8:30.
Is that now that the rain stopped and a lot of people are using our park?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The baseball's been going on, right? too?
Pardon me?
The baseball, the softball has been going on. right?
Yeah, they just finished up their regular seasons. Both leagues will be starting fall leagues in the middle of September. We're getting quite busy out there.
How
We're
can
getting
we,
caught
how
up.
can we grass cutter?
Oh, we love it.
Okay. Let's go on now to the, Jessica, what's going on at the senior center?
So we've got some cool new trips coming up here in the next about month and a half. They're going to be going to the Ohio State Fair, some local farmers markets. A lot of seniors wanted to go to the Mansfield Reformatory. So we watched Shawshank Redemption, and now they're going to go and tour that. We're really excited for that. And we're also going to take them to a Scrappers game. So that's all of our upcoming trips. And the biggest thing is our entries into the Canfield Fair. So we've got a bunch of different groups that enter the fair every year. But this year, our winemakers group is bigger than it's ever been. And I think they're taking about a dozen and a half different wines to the Canfield Fair this year. And next year's bunch, they're already getting started on it. And they're probably going to have like 24 people sending brandy and wine and all that there. So they're really super excited.
Bring straws.
Yeah.
That's good, excellent. Okay, our lovely Laura Wolf. Laura, what's going on fiscal?
Not a whole lot going on. The tax bills just came out, so we'll be able to get advances here again pretty soon, get some more cash flow into the township. And I have the monthly reports for you. And I do want to add an advance. When we get to new business, I have another advance to add down there.
All right.
Or is the state legislature's ability to pass a budget hearing this year at this stage?
Not yet, because we're still getting what the taxpayers return and what we get from the local monies. But they need to step it up.
Yes, I'd say. Okay, motion to accept the two reports submitted to the board for review, fund status, revenue status, and appropriation status.
Second.
Mr. Crano?
Yes.
Mr. McGlynn?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Okay, Lord, we have a motion here to approve the transfer from general fund 1,000 on the board to $14,890 to communications equipment on their line 4901. What else would you like?
I need to add an advance of $100,000 from the general fund to communications. 6,002.
Motion made as amended.
Second.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Crano?
Yes.
Mr. McGlynn?
Yes.
Okay, see anything else on our agenda? We would now open a public response. Anyone who would like to speak to us off camera? You want off camera? Jim? Off. You're off? Okay. And please.
Good evening, Honorable Trustees. I will give you my contact card. I am Tamim Choudhury from the U.S. Small Business Administration. I've already had the privilege of speaking to the fire chief, and I figured I would come and speak to all of you regarding the late May storms that brought in the floods. That's why we're here. Most of you are probably aware of the disaster recovery center we've set up at Boardman Township. I understand the city's been rather fortunate in not getting major damages, but I basically just wanted to inform you about what Small Business Administration does. We work hand in hand with FEMA. If you know of anybody in the entire Mahoney County that has any source of damages, homeowners, renters, their first step is definitely to register with FEMA. Go to 1-800-621-FEMA or just disasterassistance.gov. I have flyers with me, sir, so I'll pass it all out to you so you have all the information. We work hand in hand, and FEMA refers homeowners and renters to Small Business Administration. Now, what we do is we offer the low interest loans because oftentimes we see that the rent money, the insurance money, it's not enough to completely repair or rebuild a home. Our interest rates are as low as 1.9%. The repayment rate may go up to 30 years. So we think it's a very good avenue for your homeowners. They may get up to $200,000 for the primary residence, and both homeowners and renters may receive up to $40,000 for personal property damages such as vehicles, furniture, dishwasher, that sort of things. I've seen plenty of footage of vehicles just flooded, so that's where this comes in. Oftentimes people ask me why they should even bother applying for a loan because they already feel financially stressed. My response is that this can make you whole again. Say I'm SBA and I receive a loan. It does have to be repaid back because this is federal tax dollars, right? I decline Mr. Smith. I say, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry that credit scores didn't match up. Mr. Smith's case goes back to FEMA. FEMA looks to see that, okay, since Mr. Smith didn't receive SBA loan, can we help him out with other needs assistance funds? So if someone doesn't even bother filling in the SBA loan, you're really blocking yourself halfway from receiving rightfully all the disaster money that can rightfully go to you. So that's really my bottom line, that people should definitely consider this. Moving on to home businesses and nonprofits, as far as I know, we're the only federal agency that assists these two entities after a particular disaster such as this. We assist both businesses and nonprofits. By nonprofits, I'm also including churches. Churches may have interest rate as low as 2.75%. Businesses may have up to as low as 4% for their interest rate. There's no minimum. The maximum can go up to $2 million. And that's not just for physical damages. Say if the nonprofit or business has lowered revenues because of the flooding. We also help with working capital loans. Right now, we are set up, as I mentioned, at the Boardman Township. We are operating weekdays from 8:30 to 7 p.m. and also on Saturdays from 8:30 to 7. That's the best way to receive assistance. I'll provide all of you flyers on how to receive it. Go online or just call our 1-800 number. But if you ask me, while we're here, please take advantage of this. There are federal officers like me. The FEMA side will register you. The SBA side will help you fill in your forms. If you're a business owner, maybe 4 hours of your time. No loan application costs, no closing fees. All you're really spending is that time with us. We want you to take advantage of this before August 19th. That's our deadline for physical damages. Economic injury damages is March 18th of next year. I will leave flyers with all of you so you don't have to memorize all of these things. I'd be happy to answer any questions from anyone at this time.
I wish you were around 25 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Austintown, and what's going on in Canfield and in Boardman was worse here years ago. Lucky for us, the work was done with the retention ponds and the piping and so on, that even though we had more rain than they did, we didn't have the damage they did. But it's great to have that here anytime it's possible. I don't know of anyone in Austintown that is capable or has had the problem, but we will certainly be pleased to pass out that information.
I'd appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
You always pray that you'll never need that service, but it's nice to have it when you do. Anyone else? Please, Sam.
Sam Sloan, 4492 Ball Road. Basically, I just like to thank the township and the committee, for a great 4th of July celebration, and all the department heads and all the departments did an outstanding job this year, as always. And I'd like to give kudos to my buddy here, Jimmy, I've known forever, for all he's done. And but I'd also like to thank Mr. Carano. We did get our letter from the feds. We're okay. So I'll make sure I get a copy of that for you. But we were having trouble with our 501c19, and we had to redo everything. And thank you very much. Yourself and Mr. Ryan. Thank you very much. Thank everybody. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Boy, it takes a long time. When you're dealing with tax exemptions, it takes forever. Anyone else? Mike?
I'm here because I'm going to ask you to be reinstated to Austintown Senior Center. And we have to court over this. The court is having June 14th of this year. It's a sealed record. It's a matter of most of this incident with two ladies. Jimmy Johnson and Minnie. The court had said that they're going to seal both of it. I was innocent on both charges. There's no longer a protective order against me. This matter came before the court. This is from Common Police Court, Division Domestic Relationship, Mahoney County. It's right there. The sealing of the court, RC 3113.31, G2. This matter came before the court in its own motion. Petitioner filed a petition against domestic violence and protection order. It is an ex parte of the civil protection order was issued by the court. This court refused to grant the protection order due to a full hearing. Therefore, this exercised the rights to appeal if we wanted to. The appeal of all of this was exhausted on this particular RC 3113. Therefore, we have found Mr. Bogart innocent of all charges of the protection order. According to these orders that are issued in the matters of record pertaining to the parties that actually sealed these records, the Mahoney County Court shall seal these records in physical or electronic form. No person will enter into the inspection of these records related to this case due to the severity of what happened to Mr. Bogart during the last 3 years. He was harassed, discriminated against, and his home was destroyed, and so was his property. Over a jealous person that said that I took Minnie and June away from him. This case is under the protection of these records. Therefore, the sequences are no one shall ever receive these records. It is sealed permanently. Mr. Bodnar can re-enter the senior center. It was unusual. I didn't expect this.
Mike, are you saying, you just read that the court says that you are to go back into the senior center? What gives the court the right to do that? Well, we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
This is through my attorney also. He told me to go to the court, so that's what I did, right? This letter was sent to me, and I didn't have any clue that this was going to come. I want to tell you about his confession. It is all true, and it's about Michael. He came to the center in August 2015. He's a very interesting man. That I had to know. However, the senior, I was there for 1.5 years. He seemed to be lost and wanted to be around people. He walked around as a man that needed extra help. He started to play pool by himself, missing every ball, putting these balls in pockets, hitting them harder and harder. Until a man came up by the name of Ron Walker. Came to him until it was like and asked him to play pool. So the game started and Michael...
Stop for a second. Michael, he's bringing up names and that sort of thing. Is that legal for us to tape? Okay, go ahead. All right, Mike. I don't want us to get into any trouble. Go ahead.
Oh, I understand that.
Go ahead.
For his comments, we're not endorsing them.
Okay, good. It's your comment.
Okay.
Keep reading, Mike. Go ahead.
He was playing pool and lost every game. He perfected the pool and went on as a good player. He also asked Jim Henshaw if he can have a pool tournament. Jim said yes, and this man really went on the intention of doing this tournament. He made a list of everyone to be played. After the tournament was done, he gave each one of them a letter of appreciation with gold lettering, names on these letters. Tournament Michael went out, the tournament more exciting for the next tournament. He gave out gift cards and appreciation and money, and later found out that he spent all this money, well over $500 of his own money. There was best and worst time in mid-game and having a fundraiser. Up to this list of in their business, there were 45 letters to be sent out. Mike went up to her and asked her if he could help. I needed to deliver these letters, so Michael did. He came back well with 45 donations, top prize of AutoZone in Greenwood, a $650 gift certificate for wax. He did this on his own. Everyone knows that we couldn't believe it. It was really hard to believe. Then he asked him, how did you actually do this? He said, it's all, I told her, it's all on the persons that you know.
Mike, obviously the bottom line is that you want reinstatement into the senior center?
Yeah, I want reinstatement. That's all I was asking for. Now that it was because of these protection orders that I know was found innocent on all of them, we went through several background checks and found out that there was so much going on with Minnie, we couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Now she's married and I'm still not there, and you told me after the first of the year that you were going to help get me back into the Senate.
No,
And
I
as you
said we would bring up the situation. I told you in no other terms to go to court and bring it there. If you have the facility now, if you have a court system, that sort of thing, then it's time for us to have another meeting. The court doesn't tell senior center what happened.
No.
That isn't why you went, no, you are finished. You will now come and talk to us. We will sit down. Because of the court order, we'll have it looked at by our attorneys and so on. We will decide how the situation is. You were not, all this stuff about the testimony by the people to keep you away from her is something that has nothing to do with the senior center.
No.
It has nothing to do with the senior center. So the point is now, if the court says that that's possible, that's a good system on your side to see if you can get reinstated, and we'll do it. Because we follow the rules of the senior center, not the court. And I can't believe the court, under any circumstances, is going to require us to
open these records up?
No, to permit you to come back in. But because of that, it's a good point for you to bring up another thing so we can sit down and have a meeting.
That's fine with me.
That's what we got. That's what you got. Absolutely.
That's all I was asking for.
We asked you to go to court to take care of, to get rid of that stuff and that sort of thing. You come back, you're back. We'll have a meeting. That you can guarantee. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, if not, we're going to go to the officers here. Laura, you have something to say?
I really don't. I just want to say that I totally enjoyed the 4th of July week. It was hot, but it wasn't ugly hot, if that makes sense. Starting with the festivities at the plaza.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
From the festivities at the plaza all the way through the parade. It was I don't know, it seemed like there were so many more people out of the parade this year. And there was no one getting into trouble this year.
They had a great announcement.
I appreciate that announcer. That announcer knows my name.
No, that is, we're all going to say that. It was a heck of a week. It really was something. Okay, sir?
I just want to kudos to Jim and the whole thing. 4th of July committee. Quite a interesting thing, a lot of background stuff that nobody knows about, starting a year ahead of time, but on the day of the festivities. You know, starting at 8 in the morning and working your way all the way through. And I gotta tell you, I've never seen a singer or basically someone who goes nationwide and sings, set up his whole thing all day long, or crusade. And he put on a great show. It got a little bit slow at one point, and Jim jumped up and got the crowd going. He's kind of the ringmaster of the ceremony. And he did a great job of that. And I just want to give you kudos you deserve, because people don't see the background, most of them was at the 4th of July. Same with Todd, working all day, and his crew. It was pretty hot out. It was a very good day. Ray Penny and Mark Comanche and all the guys who were working all day long. The fireworks were incredible. Every year they just keep getting better. And again, that's a tribute to you and your committee and what they did. Bruce mentioned that it didn't seem as hot. On the back of that pickup, it seemed very hot.
Our Tootsie Rolls were melted.
Yeah, the Tootsie Rolls were melting, their suckers were melting. So Darren was in the truck with the air on full blast, but thanks to Darren for the water, but from that standpoint. And as Jim stated, we started the morning with Joyce Povey ceremony, and she did a great job with that. It's amazing. I call her the Queen of Austintown because she just keeps going and going and going.
She is Mrs. Austintown.
Yeah, her and her committee do a great job. It was nice because the student who they gave their scholarship to was there as well. And the band did a good job, the color guard as well. Thanks to all of those folks for doing everything they do. Fire department, they were there almost all day. It's good that we didn't have any severe calls because we had a tough time getting out of the crowd. But they did put Chris Hickman about 105 feet up there. He's a one crazy performer. He jumps from pickup truck to pickup truck, and very entertaining. And again, it's a tribute to everyone on what the 4th of July has become in Austintown with the parade and everything. So, congratulations! You did a great job with that.
We talked about the 4th of July, but I'm going to give everybody a quick story. So growing up in Austintown, the 4th of July was kind of the encapsulation of our entire baseball season. We talked about the baseball teams playing at Township Park. Some of my greatest memories were playing baseball at Austintown Township Park. But the 4th of July, as you watch the movie The Sandlot, that was our one night game a year. What some people may not know is I lived in Virginia for 3 years, and when I lived there, you played every game under the lights because of the heat. You had to play. Our game started at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, and every game was under the lights. But as in the movie The Sandlot, you played under the fireworks, and that was what it was all about. Well, my coach lived on Westmont Drive. And so if you know where Westmont is, it dead ends into what used to be Trustee Park and now is the 9/11 Memorial Park where the girls play softball. Well, we would always have a pickup game, which was the team versus the parents and the coaches, and we would play there, and our coach would always cook hot dogs at his house on Westmont Drive. And we'd watch the fireworks, and we'd play under the lights of the fireworks. But during those fireworks, we would always sneak back right before they would end, and we would tie cans, pop cans, underneath the cars of the people that parked along Westmont Drive that were there to watch the fireworks. And as they drove away, Coach Frank would always scream, "Hey, your muffler's dragging." And to a bunch of 12-year-old kids, that was kind of funny. So those were my memories. And you heard Jim talk about being on that committee and being the chairman. And one of the things I said, even before I was trustee, is that, and I tell people this today, is that it is my job as the younger generation, I feel, to honor the people like Ken Carano, Jim Johnson, Sam Swagger, Dave Ditzler, Ken Zins, those individuals that were the chairman of the 4th of July committee. People like Joyce Pogany. When we talk about Joyce, I think to this day, what do we do if we don't have Joyce? Who puts on that ecumenical service? Who steps up and makes sure that that tradition is carried on? I get to share about 30 seconds of my 4th of July fireworks with my daughter. And that, to me, makes it all worth it. The excitement of her counting down. Now, for those of you that don't know, her mother and I are separated, but we get along great. And one of the things that she did this year was she joked with my daughter, and she said, well, Sunday, that's my day to have you. And Gabby said right away, well, Mom, the fireworks don't happen if I'm not there. Because everybody knows Gabby counts 10 to 1 to shoot off the fireworks. And to see the look on my daughter's face, or to see the look on the other kid's face, and to know that I'm honoring those individuals that were on that committee before me. I love Austintown. That, to me, is what the 4th of July is all about. Making sure that the next generation gets to see that. They get to have their night under the lights of playing baseball under the fireworks. I hope somewhere some kid's tying cans on someone's car back behind the Austintown Plaza. I hope that someone is just getting the enjoyment that I had as a kid growing up in Austintown. I hope that that's what they're getting out of this, because truthfully, it is a lot of work, but when people come up and they say, thank you, that was such a great event, I really appreciate that. Like I said, I get to be the face of it, but honestly, if it wasn't for the support of these guys, I don't get to do that, so thank you once again. But Todd, he runs around like a madman for me that day and the days before leading up to it. So from the bottom of my heart and Austintown's heart, thank you very much for your efforts. I know I probably drive you crazy. I'm not as crazy as I drive Garrett about clothing drop boxes, but I know I drive you crazy. But, thank you guys for allowing me to do what I do. It's a lot of fun. And I just hope everybody had a great 4th of July. And I said we normally don't do it. I've never booked the same act back to back. I will tell you this. We can't drive through the city of Youngstown for about another month because we stole Ryan Curry. It may be a good idea to stay out of Portage Lakes because Chris Higbee has played in Portage Lakes on that Sunday that we have our fireworks. Every year he had a standing gig in Portage Lakes. And the place that he played switched ownership. And I asked Chris to play for us a couple years ago. And he said, Jim, I've got a standing gig in Portage Lakes. I can't change. Well, then when I heard that the ownership sold, I said, well, Chris, here's the chance. And he goes, no. He goes, I got a standing gig in Portage Lakes. He goes, I got to at least ask the new owners, which I thought was pretty stand up. So he asked the new owners, and he gave them an opportunity, and nobody ever got back to Chris. And Chris called me one day and said, Jim, he goes, the fireworks, he goes, is that option still available? And I said, absolutely. And he said, okay, mark me down, I'll do it. Well, we kind of stole Chris Higbee, so I don't want to give him back just yet, the Portage Lakes. So I think everybody will be excited to know that Chris Higbee will be back for it. And I'm sure you guys already know I'm planning June 28th, 2020. We actually met a little bit earlier tonight just to go over some financial stuff and have those checks ready for the presentation, but we are planning June 28th, 2020. And I promise you, not only will Chris probably be 102 feet in the air again, but we're coming up with some even crazier ideas. Chris said, he actually asked me to share with the Austintown that that is a much larger crowd, number one, than Portage Lakes. But he just couldn't believe the energy of over 8,000 people in that plaza. And he was very excited. He goes, I had no idea that this was what this was. He goes, I would have been here a heck of a lot sooner. And so he and his family are ready to come back, and they've got some really great ideas for 2020.
Very talented. His son, extremely.
They're amazing.
He played the fiddle, man. He just was couldn't tell between him and his father.
No, he is, he's amazing.
Incredible for a young kid. What's he, 12 years old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And then,
His wife.
little Lucy is out of this world, and then Melissa Higby, you can't meet a nicer lady. She is actually the youngest sergeant major in the entire United States Army. And they were originally from Dawson, Pennsylvania, now they live in Brookfield, Ohio. And so we've got a gem right here in the Higby family. So we're glad to have them back for 2020.
I'll tell you, let me, I'll finish my comments about that. We all appreciate Jim is not afraid to pick up the telephone and call 6,000 different people at different times from all over the place. But each of the departments have a chairman, and they've done an outstanding job. We're going to have a little bit of a tape that goes on before the parade so that we can talk about each member. But everyone out there, believe it or not, look, it doesn't cost you anything. It really isn't hard work. Sometimes it's really enjoyable. Join us for the 4th of July committee, and you'll really understand this. Now, we do have meetings at least 7 times during the course of the year, but they'll be announced and you'll be able to do so. So Jim, congratulations, it was outstanding.
Ken, not to, real quick, shame on me for not mentioning this. Number one, I thanked everybody. The 2 people I really did not thank that deserve a lot of thanks. Hollywood Gaming and Owens Construction were the 2 sponsors of this year's event, who collectively donated over $13,000 to put on the event. To me, as you said, it is all free. I want to make sure that every family can come and not have to pay a cent to participate. But I've actually received a phone call today as well. Not only was he our Grand Marshal of the Parade, Jim Molnar, but I spoke with him earlier today, and he is donating from his proceeds. He has his concession trailers there, but let it be known that he gives back to this community. He is donating $3,635 back to the 2020 fireworks, or 2020 fireworks. So that will be available for us to use towards next year's fireworks, and that came from the proceeds of the sales of this event. So thank you to Jim Molnar, and shame on me for not mentioning that.
Well, this town is phenomenal. Let's do some straightening out real fast. The next meeting is not going to be on the 22nd. Our next meeting will be the 29th at 3:30. 29th, on Monday. Okay, we rescheduled these different things. Now, I got to show these flags because Eric Newton and Millie, probably Nikki, someday I'm going to learn how to pronounce that correctly with my Italian mouth. But the thing is, they love this township and they love our area over here, but they dislike when the flag gets, freighted and it doesn't get changed. So they came up with the flags, and we'll put them out. If we could put your name on it, we do it, but we can't. But thank you so very much for your concern for us there. In case you haven't noticed, our colleagues at the school level, boy, things have changed in Austintown schools. We wish the very best of luck to the new superintendent, Mr. Kep. Okay, let me get this right. Capuzzello, right? Capuzzello. Walking into a situation with a lot of new people and so on coming up for this first year. With the death of the legend in football, Phil Anarella, we wish John Elliott, who is now the head coach of the football team, which is getting ready to start performing. We wish them the best of luck. And all those new positions for new people, we wish them nothing but the best. And we hope we keep a very, very close. For years, there was not a close relationship between the school board and the trustees. We have a great working relationship. We aren't afraid to tell each other our opinions. But once again, they're the elected officials that take care of the schools. We don't do the schools. We take care of the township. So I wish them nothing but the best of luck in their coming year. We will now have a motion to adjourn to executive session for a number of different reasons. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Mr. Wood? Mr. James?
Yes.
Thank you all for being here.
In association with Austintown Local Schools and Austintown Township.